song Dance Monkey by Tones and I is a basic 4-chord song written in the key of F sharp minor. Although it's not the typical type of music that I listen to, it does provide for a really interesting canvas for analyzing and experimenting musically. And hey, with over 5 billion views on the various streaming platforms, it's really hard to argue with those results. I think they've accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. Let's look into it. I like using the major scale for song analysis. If you're not familiar with the major scale, I've got a really good video on my channel. I think you should check that out. The first chord played is an F sharp minor, which would be the 6th chord in the major scale of A major. The second chord played is a D major, which is the 4 chord. The third chord played is this E major, which is the 5. And we end the progression with the 3 chord, a C sharp minor chord, which makes for a really dark, a pretty dark chord progression. So let's add a bridge with some brighter chord selections, since the song is relatively dark with its 2 minor chords. That transition works, and so we created a nice little bright sounding bridge using the chords of D, E, and the relative major of A major. To transition into the bridge, I did some stuff with that C sharp minor chord. So if we look at our C sharp minor chord here on O Limo, by removing my pinky from the 3rd string, we expose that B note that's underneath of it because of the bar chord. That creates a C sharp minor dominant 7 chord, and on its own it doesn't really do much in this particular context, but by putting my pinky on the F note that's here on the 2nd string, we get a C sharp major chord dominant 7. O Limo is a great site for experimenting with chord construction and deconstruction. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, it's just a really good tool. So this transition from C sharp minor using the C sharp dominant 7 up to the D works really well, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one is that on the 2nd string there's a movement here with the E note on the 2nd string of the C sharp minor, and going to the dominant 7 introduces the F note, and we ultimately land on this F sharp note here, and that's called voice leading. So we go from this E to an F all the way to our tonic note F sharp, and it feels really good to land on this F sharp. It's our tonic note, it'll always feel good, and the transition from the 7 will always be very successful. This F sharp note here happens naturally in our D chord on the 1st string 2nd fret, that note there. The second thing that makes this transition interesting is that by transitioning out of the C sharp minor onto a C sharp major dominant 7 is that we expose this B note here. And the B and the E, although they sound great together, when we transition to a B and an F, we're creating what is called a tritone. And that's a pretty dissonant sound. It's not very pleasing. So it makes us want to not actually be here. It creates an unstable chord, so that when we finally land on this D major, we get a really nice resolution. This tritone is very well disguised, but it does create that instability that makes us just want to be somewhere else. And there it is. Very satisfying. The third reason why this works is because our C sharp dominant 7 chord is a major chord where a minor is supposed to be. So we're outside of our key. The introduction of the F note, part of that dominant 7, is not a note that is in our scale. The scale of A major includes A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. So that F note is not supposed to be there. But as a stepping stone towards the tonic, it works really well. So our bridge is now composed of the D chord, the E chord, the A, back to the E, and to the D. Now, just like earlier, we're going to need a way to transition out of this. Otherwise, we're just going to end up going around in circles. And one possible way we can do that is to use, once again, that C sharp minor chord. And we can even use the dominant 7 trick that we learned. Let's give it a try and let's see if we can break out of this. And that works nice. So for the exact same reason, being on the C sharp minor here and introducing that C sharp dominant 7 pulls us towards the F sharp note. And obviously our tonic chord of F sharp minor has an F sharp here and an F sharp here on the 6th string. I'm wondering though, since we're in that bridge and we're using that A chord, I'm wondering if we can do the same thing with the A chord to our transition. The A major chord consists of an A, an E, and the C sharp notes. And since we have an E on the open 1st string, we can move our pointer finger to fret the F note that's on the 1st string, creating the exact same voice leading we did with the C sharp minor to C sharp dominant 7 transition. Limo is calling this an A major with a flat 6. Don't forget that these designations are based on the chords major scale, not the scale of our song. And it's also recognizing that it's a bit uncommon for a chord, and that we're really coloring outside the lines. So let's give that kind of transition a try. Onto the E, the A chord. Let's break out of it. I think that transition works. It definitely has a different color than using the C sharp minor chord, but I don't know if I like it any better. Let's try something else with the A chord. Since there's also an E note on the 4th string of my A chord, we can try replacing it with an F as well. This creates an A augmented chord that could be really hard to finger, so let's drop the major 3rd, that C sharp note here on the 2nd string, and just play the open string, which is a B note. In this case, we're substituting the A chord's major 3rd with a 2nd, so the chord becomes an A sus2 chord with the addition of a flat 6, that F note. Now let's try the new transition. So I think the transition works, and our A sus2 flat 6 chord definitely has a vibe to it. It's something that's reminiscent of a sound effect in a suspense movie where we're wondering what went wrong. Hey, if you're liking this video and you're finding value in it, please consider doing those things that YouTube people do, the likes and the subscribes and dropping a comment. I don't get paid to do these videos. I don't have a Patreon. I'm not selling you anything. It takes a lot of hours to make these videos. I'm just trying to help out. So drop me a comment, and if this video was not for you, you think it's the lamest thing ever, feel free to just move along. All right, thanks. Another idea is to modulate into a new key. I don't think a lot of bands do that anymore, but it's something that was really, really popular. Certainly, if you listen to anything by the Beatles, they were the pros at modulating to new keys. So let's use the G sharp minor chord as the target key for our modulation. It's a whole step higher than F sharp minor, and it makes for a good candidate because it should be within the singer's range, and the F sharp minor key and the G sharp minor key do share a couple of chords in common. Typically, the fifth chord in a key is a good chord candidate for a transition into a new key. The fifth chord in F sharp minor would be the C sharp minor chord, which we've already used before. It's probably our best candidate, but I'd like to try something different. We can try using the B7 chord. In the scale of A major or F sharp minor, the B chord is this number 2 chord here, or it would be the 1, 2, 3, it would be the number 4 in the F sharp minor key. The B7 chord will introduce the note of D sharp, which is also outside of our key, the D sharp here. I'm not sure if that's the best solution for us, since we've already stepped outside of our key with an F. Now, presumably, you wouldn't necessarily add a bridge and a key change, but let's give it a try anyway. Let's go to G sharp minor after the B7 chord. I'm not sure with the B7 chord, to be honest with you. It does create a movement from the C sharp to the B to the G sharp, which is actually quite interesting. So maybe it does work. Let's try it again. You know what? I've changed my mind. I do like it. So if we run through that again, maybe just a bit faster. I think it works. I think it works pretty nice. Another option is to use a D7 chord. And I like using dominant 7 chords because they're unstable and they do bring a certain sense of movement to a song. Now the D chord is our chord number 4 and we've already used it before. So using a D7 will add color that we've not heard before yet in our chord progression. Let's try it with the D7 now. I think I prefer the B7. All in all, I think the C sharp minor is our best chord to transition into something else. Even if it's another key, I think the B7 works and definitely adds something that you probably haven't heard in any other progression, or at least it's not very popular. The third thing we'll try is creating some triads on the 1, 2, and 3rd strings. Since the song is fairly dark in the bottom end here, so we know we can go get an F sharp minor on the 9th fret of the 1st string, like that. We can get a D major on the 5th fret of the 1st string, an E major triad here, and this creates a nice C sharp minor way up there on the 9th fret. Definitely adds a little bit of color. So there we have it. We've added triads, we've created a bridge, and we've added a key change to a song that drones on the same chord progression. But it's arguable if we've made the song better. After all, by sticking to the same 4 chords throughout, the song maintains this theme of no movement. And if you try to interpret the lyrics don't actually seem to go anywhere. It seems to be about someone who is observing someone from afar, but is not actually doing anything. So by adding key changes and different chord progressions, we're actually adding color to a song that wants to create a specific mood of droning on and just monotony. And with 5 bazillion views, you can't argue with those results. I think that they've covered that droning on theme magically, and the song just works the way it is. But it was still a fun exercise to explore musically. There's probably a lot of things we could have done here, and I've just picked out a few, a bridge and a key change and a couple of triads, just to keep this video short. But let me know in the comments down below if you do anything different, if you'd have ideas for a transition, what you would do with a bridge, or any other key changes that you'd like to make, or anything else that you would do to the song. Write me in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Thanks.